What's up guys, I'm PawsBuild and welcome back to a brand new franchise series on the channel. Now we're going to be building an ethical zoo in this series, and as you can see we're going to be building it in the grasslands. So this is our little entrance here that we've already got, and what I mean by an ethical zoo is essentially we're going to focus 100% on making this zoo all about the animals and what the animals' needs are. We're going to make the habitats massive. We're going to run into problems probably with needing enough guest facilities and viewing areas and stuff for guests so that everyone will donate enough money to keep the zoo running. But that's the challenge we're going for. We're going to try and make it all about the animals, and as you can see we're using a sculpted map, so that's going to present some different terrain challenges, but I think it's going to make the zoo look really cool and on different levels. So I'm really excited to dive in. Now we have an entrance to our zoo already, but I'm going to delete this entrance, at least the scenery for it, and get a little bit of extra money. And what I'm going to do is just make a path that leads away from this area so we can do a bit more of like an entrance area within the building area of our zoo. And the path I'm going to use is going to be this rustic path, which I just really like it, and it's already there, but I just think it really goes with the grassland. And I'm also going to change the path length to 10 meters to just have the maximum area we can. Now I'm going to mark out where we want the entrance to be with one of these black tiles, and I've just marked it out with some asphalt so we know not to build to the left of that. This is going to be the actual entrance, everything on this side. I'm going to add a couple more bits of path there, and we want to have our first habitat here. But before we do that, we need to actually hire some staff because staff do actually make the zoo go round. So let's get ourselves a keeper, a caretaker, a mechanic, and a vet. These are the 4 members of staff you really need just to get started. Everyone else we will get, but we don't need them quite yet. I'm just going to pause the game because the first thing I want to do as well is design their staff uniforms, which is a really cool thing. It's a fairly new feature and I'm so excited about it. I loved it in our last zoo, having like the eco outfits for everyone. And I think we're going to go with this uniform for our keepers, this outfit for our caretakers, this outfit for our vets, and this color for our mechanic. Now, if you're wondering how I chose these colors, all I did was have a look at the colors that were already there. So I took the shoe color from the shirt color that was on the keeper. I just copy this key code for the color. If you come to Adobe Color, you can then either click complementary, split complementary, or double split complementary. But essentially you just paste the color into the left-hand side, the key, and it comes up with a nice color palette for you. And we haven't used all the colors in ours. I think we've just used these. I think we haven't used the darkest blue, but essentially that's how I got these colors. And they work nicely together, or at least I think they look nice together, because they're all complementary colors. And I don't know enough about color theory to come up with it on my own. Now we've got some staff. We're gonna need some staff facilities. And because we are just starting out, we need to keep an eye on our finances. So I'm gonna make sure that we put as few in as we actually need, and for now that means just doing the blueprints, turning the blueprints off and just doing the standard buildings. So we want staff facilities, and for this zoo I'd like to have a bit more of like a central staff area where the staff can easily access a bunch of different habitats around them. So I'm going to kind of centrally locate one in a bit of a plaza. I'm going to do that by clicking align to grid and then selecting the grid we've just made with our path. And then you can easily place out pieces to make a bit of a plaza. Now we've got a really nice 7x7 plaza, and we can easily put our staff room over here. Now, for now, I think I'm going to move our guest spawner and guest gates further forward so the guests don't have too long to move. I'm going to delete this section we had right at the start. Now we can tidy this up another time and kind of move the vegetation where there is a blueprint of where a building was. For now, I think that this is going to be much better for our needs. And we can just have it be like this. And we still know that that black area is all going to change around here. And this isn't the setup we're going to have. I just want to reduce the walking distance a little bit for our guests right now. If we make some of this long grass as well, we can kind of hide some of the changes we've made too. Now we're going to need to place our staff buildings. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have 2 buildings. One that's for like vets and animal welfare. And then another one that's for kind of the everyday maintenance of the zoo. Now I'm just going to leave the buildings as these shells for now. And we're going to make really nice buildings for both of them a bit later, but for now, to save money, this is what we're going to do in the meantime. I'm going to place the animal trade center, the small quarantine, the small research center, the small staff room, the veterinary surgery, and a small keeper hut. We will get the others soon, just not right now. I'm going to connect it all up with some really ugly staff pathing. There we go, we've got our staff area. I'm going to put them all into one work zone for now, so that our keepers and everyone know where they're assigned, and just call it the central hub. Now we just assign all of our staff to the central hub who are currently unassigned. Now our first animal is going to be the capybara. And they're so cute. Look at them. We need to look at the species data to see how many of them we can have in a habitat. And you can see that we've got 4 to 20. So you can have a group of 20 of them. And it's very mixed, like up to 9 males, up to 19 females. It is insane. So you can basically, as long as we don't have a group of loads of males, we'll be fine. Males have a dominance hierarchy. So there could be a little bit of fighting, I guess, if you have too many males. The guests can enter the habitat, which is interesting. And they're confident around humans, which is really good. We're not going to have to worry about putting loads of spaces for them to hide or all of that. They're also really easy to reproduce in captivity, which is something that's very important, as is the age of sexual maturity. So we need to make sure if we want to breed them, they're 1.5 years old and they only live to 10. So we don't want to buy any 9-year-old capybaras. Now, one thing that's worth pointing out is we've got the animal settings to reduce the animal aging by 3 times. So they're going to age a lot slower and they're going to reproduce a lot slower, because in our last zoo it just got manic by the end of the zoo with so many animals. The penguins were just reproducing out of control. The gharials were as well. It was literally insane. So this is going to it's going to slow the pace a little bit, which I think is going to be good for the series. Now the capybaras need grade 2 fencing that's more than 1.25 meters tall, but we're not actually going to use the Planet Zoo barriers in this episode. We're going to make our own using the null barriers and then using the construction pieces to kind of make something a bit like custom. So you can absolutely use these barriers. They work just fine. I just wanted to make something a little bit different in this one. And we can see that let's say we've got 12 adults and 8 babies, that's 1,000 square meters we need for these guys. Now, if it were 20 adults, how much would that be? Only 1,200 meters squared. So that's not too bad. We can definitely accommodate that. One thing I do want to put into consideration is I want this to be a mixed habitat. Now for this episode, we're just going to put the capybaras in, but I do want to put the giant anteaters in here as well, and the maned wolves, because all 3 of them can live in a habitat and it actually helps each other. Like, it gives them bonuses from sharing the habitat with species that would naturally be found in their environment. But we need to look at how much area they need as well to make sure it suits the needs of all of the animals. Now the maned wolves only have a group size of up to 1 to 2, so we can massively reduce how much they need on this. Let's say there's 2 of them and then they've got 2 babies. Okay, we're looking at like 1,500 meters squared. Anteaters are also 1 to 2, and they're only 780 meters squared. They've got even lower land requirements. So I think if we take the 1,500 figure and we use that as the basis for all 3 habitats, we're probably going to be good. However, my plan to keep this ethical is to blow those requirements out of the water, because I always like having much bigger habitats than the game suggests. And that's what I'm going to do. Now, I'm going to put a habitat gate in on this side so our staff can quite easily access it. And it's going to go in here. And then I'm going to use null barriers to build the rest of the habitat and kind of define the area. Okay, we've got just over 8,000 square meters, which is kind of insane. It's obviously massive for what they need. But we've put some paths in just to support like guest visibility for now. But the plan is when we get the plants, and I want to put a building in here as well, that area is going to come down and what the animals can actually traverse is like their traversable area. So I think we should try and hit about 5 times what the animal needs with this, which is the point of the zoo. It's the theme for this zoo is that it's all ethical. We've got loads of space. So I think 5 times as much space as they need is what we should do. That's the plan. And we've got to make it work with the finances. That's the challenge. Now, I think it's time that we buy our capybara. So let's type in capybara and see what we've got. Frontier Zoo, they're not going to be related, as we've learned from others. We just have to be careful when we get them from similar zoos. I don't really want any like albino ones, so I'm just going to go for like standard ones, and actually buying them for money would be good. We've got quite a lot of credits, so I think I'm going to grab this female from Frontier Zoo and just get the other ones that are from Frontier. There's another female here, decent age, another female, and another one, and a 5th female. Okay. So let's just look for males, and we filter by the highest appeal. I don't want an albino one, so I don't really want any with 0 either. So I may have to go for... Oh, there's some more females. Okay, let's get another couple of females. And then maybe this would be a good male. Seems quite good. Let's grab this one. Now, we've grabbed quite a lot of capybara here. So we've got 1 male and the rest are females. Let's send them to quarantine, and then we can check if they've got any diseases or anything, and if they're injured or anything, and then we can sort that out. I'm going to hit play as well, so our staff are going to start to do this. We can actually pick them up as well, and then just move them over manually, just to save them a bit of a trip. And look, now they're so much further ahead than the other ones. But we'll let them go. It's just the caretaker and the vet who do that. The keepers, for some reason, don't actually move animals between buildings, it seems, which is very strange. But they do look after your animals other than that, so that's fine. And it keeps warning us that we need to set our staff work zone to include this new habitat now. Now our keepers and vets and everyone can access the habitat. And before then, they couldn't. And for now, I'm just going to call it capybara, because that's all we have. And I found they just run around aimlessly if the building isn't powered, because these buildings unfortunately aren't powered because we've moved away from our starting power source. Oh, interestingly, this habitat just makes it, so that's good. These 2 habitats will be powered, but not this section. So we do need to put a power source in, and luckily we have already researched the solar panel in a different series. So I'm just going to whack one of these in, and they don't have any ongoing running costs, so that's kind of ideal. I'm going to whack it here. They also don't have like any negative guest impact, which is pretty good. If we look at negative impact on guests, we can see it's just these buildings, and oh, they do cross the path there, but we are going to move them soon, so I'm not really too worried about that. They're not going to be there anyway, and their radius is going to be massively reduced because we're going to decorate them all nicely, which brings down their radius. So now everything should work. These should all be powered, and they'll run them from the Animal Trade Center into quarantine. And there they shall wait. Now, we need to look at the entrance to our little habitat. And I want to build a bit of a building here. I want to make sure that this is all null barrier, and same with these posts. And now we just have a door into nothing. So I'm going to go into construction, and I think I'm going to get some... where are they from again? Let's have a look. They're from South America, and I believe the others are as well if they all share habitats together. Yes, South America and Central America. So I think if we have kind of a South American theme for this habitat, that would be quite cool. So let's build a building with that in mind. So I started building this building with the stone temple blocks from the South America pack. And what I'm doing is just laying out kind of a foundation so I can see where the building's going to go. And then I'm putting in doorways for the animals, and I use the arch pieces for this because I think they're quite cute. And I was toying between where I put them and how many I put in, but I wanted to have this little section off to the side, and I'll show you a bit later what that's actually for. Then I started using the thatched roof pieces to get a little bit of a roof going. And I'm never as confident with roofs. It's probably my weakest point in building, but I put it in so it has a bit of an overhang on both sides, which you can see. So I had to adjust the grid to 2 meters to do that. And then I think it just has a nice overhang, and you'll see what I do with it later as well. I kind of use that as a design feature. And then it was just about filling in the stone walls so that it completes and looks like a completed roof, which I had a bit of trouble with. It was a bit finicky getting it all to align. And I don't know whether it's because I played around with the grid size. I'm not sure. I then put in a door and I put it on both sides so you can see it from the inside and the outside. And I started putting these leaf decorations on the outside of the building. And I couldn't decide which one, so I just put all of them on. And I thought it looked quite cool as like a little design with all of them. I also added these statues around the side, and you'll see I put a bit of an awning above the door. I was really just looking through the pack and seeing what was really cool, and I loved all these pieces. Now, here's why I put the separated area. I put in a habitat gate here, and this obviously isn't an official gate, but essentially this is a section that could be gated off, and I've put a second one there. You can see a second gate that sticks out a bit more than the other one to show that that's a sliding gate. But this area could be used if the two animals were fighting, or if like the main wolves needed to be in there because they needed to clean the habitat. And you could probably clean a habitat with Capybara around, but not with main wolves, I'd imagine. So they could lead them in there and then close the gate and safely clean the habitat. Then I just added some bamboo floors, which I thought were pretty cool and in keeping with the theme. If you have the trouble with having like them flickering like that, if you just move the pieces slightly, like raise them or left and right, then it seems to go away, which is a top tip. Then I just added some bedding in both of the areas because I thought this covered shelter that they could use for sleeping, and I moved on to the outside. So I built this kind of like, for me, it was like music wave structure out of bamboo. And I was really happy with it in the end. I just wanted to make it align at both ends of the building, but it just added a bit of a unique design feature. And then I put a stone doorway that kind of frames the door and hides the posts you can kind of see. Now for the fence, I did toy with the idea of using the bamboo structures, but they were too small. So I was like, I'm going to go away. I started putting these bamboo features in that I knew I wanted to do, and I thought inspiration would come to me. And it actually did, because I used the pieces I used for the waveform art on the other side, and decided that would be a great use for the fences. So I decided to build the fence out of this material, and it worked really well. I just grabbed the tallest ones, as you can see, like doubled them up, and then started placing them along the sides. And when it's all there, it looks like it's got a bit of a different theme to it, rather than just having like straight barriers. And they should be the height that we need for the main walls. That's why the other ones weren't going to work, is the main walls need, I think, like 3 meters, which is crazy. So they must jump. And then I put some glass panels in so the guests can see in. And I did that kind of at convenient viewing locations, I thought. So I thought I'd space them out a bit in the habitat. I think there's 4 scattered around the habitat. And then on the other side, which is kind of the non-viewing side, I used a rock formation just to block it off. And when we get the different animals in, we'll have to check that all of these things still work, because we need to check that the barriers are tall enough, and we need to check that they can't jump over the rocks, because they're obviously all different animals. But for the capybara, this was all fine, which is good. And of course, I was placing rocks, so I had to build a waterfall, because if there's ever water and rocks together, it turns into a waterfall on this channel. Okay, we've just added a little water area as well, which I think is really cute. I should have probably put it a little bit closer to somewhere where we could have had like a central water pump. But I think if we put it like a water pump in somewhere here, we'll have some other habitats. It'll be fine. I'm going to whack the water pump here for now, because it will still catch that area there. And I don't think any of them actually need swimming area. I need to check though, because if they do, then... oh, they do. Oh, okay. Capybara do. Oh, not a lot though. Okay, so if there were 20 adults again, 300 meters squared. Okay, that's not a lot. None. And the giant anteater, none as well. Okay, well, let's make this water area slightly bigger, because I don't think this is a substantial area right now. Let's have a look at it. Oh, it's 200 meters squared. I mean, it's actually sufficient right now, but I think if we make it a little bit bigger, or perhaps we should have another small area where we've got 2 areas of water, that might actually be better. I'm going to do that. Have just a little drinking pool somewhere as well around here. Okay, it looks like our animals have all passed quarantine pretty much. So if we select them, is that all of them passed? Yes. Okay, let's grab all of them and let's move them in. Wow, okay, big moment, big moment. We'll add a few more rocks to this water area to make it look a bit more kind of a defined area. And then we should probably look at our ticket price as well. Maybe make that like 4. I don't know if that's going to be too much for guests or not, but then no one's in yet because we haven't got an animal. So let's see if they're happy with four zoo dollars. Here we go. Our first animal. Look at them. Oh my goodness, they're so cool. Oh, they look so funny, don't they? The capybara is actually the largest living rodent in the world, which is so cool. And their name evolves from the old Tupi word, capybara, meaning grass eater, with Spanish and Portuguese influences in the early 17th century. Capybaras can hold their breath underwater for 5 minutes and can run at speeds of up to 35 kilometers an hour. Those little things can go. Capybaras also have a scent gland called marillo on their nose, which is especially pronounced on the male. The capybara live in savannas, forests, and wetlands in South America, and they typically measure 50 to 62 centimeters in height and 106 to 134 centimeters in length. Although they're similar in size, the female capybaras tend to be heavier than the males, with an average weight of 61 kilos for females and 50 kilos for males. And whilst the capybara are listed as a least concerned species, unfortunately they're still hunted for their fur, skin, and meat. And in some regions, they're actually commercially farmed for their meat. Okay, so we've actually got some guests here now. Now we need to make sure we cash in on the fact that we have guests and get some donation bins in. So I'm going to make a donation box. I think I'll probably make it like a bamboo color. And then I'll whack a couple of them at each of the viewing points we set out. Actually, I should have, before I place the first one, I'm going to change the color now, and then I'll just copy the color over. In fact, that one is in the way. Let's start a new one. Okay, what color are we going to have? Okay, I think I'm going to go with this color scheme for the donation bins, and then just place them at every 2 spots like that, and along here as well. But I just want to also check that the animals can't escape, because that's quite important too. So let's look at habitat and click on one of our capybara. Ah, see, they can escape at 1 point. Okay, so I've realized what the problem was. It's because we haven't got glass here. So funnily enough, they could just walk out of these 3 panes. So we just need to add some glass in, which we could very easily do by sliding these across. There we go. That should have resolved things. If we click play, it should reload it. And they can't escape. That's great news. Okay, brilliant. Now, they're actually quite easy about what terrain they have. They quite like the long grass, but they do need more soil. If we maybe have a bit of like a soil play area over here, I think this would probably meet their needs pretty well. Let's have that on heavy soil, and then we'll just add some light soil in on like 20%. There we go. They're hitting all the requirements now. Now they do need, oh, they've got a tree already in here. They do need some nature that meets their needs. And I think other than that, they're going to need some enrichment. So one of the first things we should do actually is get our vet to start researching the capybara. So we've got German boil. Now, one thing we can do with our staff is rename them, which I find hilarious because I just like I almost did it then to boils. Just imagine you went for your interview and then you're like signing your contract or something for work and they're like, it says here that you can change my name. And they're like, yeah, of course we can. It's just so ridiculous. So we're not going to change their name because as funny as that is, I think we'll leave them with their own names. We can rename the capybara though. So if you have name suggestions, please leave them in the comments. I'd love to get a bit of a name list together and start renaming them with your suggestions. This is our male, currently called Diego. He needs more enrichment. Let's see if they've got any enrichment right now. Oh, we've got quite a lot actually, because we've already unlocked some stuff, but that is how you generally unlock it, is through that research panel, the vet research. And then you'll see here, if we do the first stage, we'll get 2 toys and food level 2. So for now, we've only got food level 1, but we do have these enrichment items. So I'm going to add some food enrichment near the viewing areas because we kind of want them to go over there. Starting to get a little bit dark as well, I can see. I'm going to put an ice ball, a small barrel feeder, and a melon feeder over there. And then we're going to have a bit of like we can have water jet rock near the waterfall. That makes sense. I don't think we've got any water deep enough for the submarine boy. And let's also whack a sprinkler over here too. And then we can just throw in some balls for them to play with as well. And maybe a rubber duck. Let's put a rubber duck in this little pond here. Now we have the zoo open till quite late. So I think if we turn our opening hours back to maybe till like 9. That feels quite late, like 5 a.m. till 9 p.m. That's quite a long day, but I think that'll work. And what do the guests think about our ticket prices as well? Ticket price is good. Okay, well, maybe we should put it up a little bit. Let's have it be 5 and see how they feel about that. Because we do need to start making a profit. And at the minute, we are very close. We just need to carry on. See, the capybara are quite a good animal. They're like, a lot of these small herbivores are quite good when you start out because they're very cheap to feed. So if you look at our food costs, oh, they're not as cheap as some other ones, but I suppose we've got 8 of them. But it's still very cheap, and for the level of appeal that they'll bring, they're pretty good. So that's the plan. We're gonna try and optimize these things as much as we can. When we've got massive habitats like this, look at them all. Look at them all in here. Oh, they're so cute, having the time of their lives. Look at them playing with the duck and everything. How do they feel about it now? Okay, they're really good for everything. They just need some more, and this tree needs to be moved because it shouldn't be in their habitat. So really, we should have some trees that are from South Central America and Grassland. Now, I think I'm going to add them in now. Actually, before we start putting the nature in, there's one really important thing I've forgotten to put in, which is education for the guests. So I'm going to go down to media devices and education and put something in, probably just some habitat education boards and some speakers. And this is important because it will influence how much our guests will actually donate to the zoo. And we need more money. So, and I'm also going to grab some of these South American frames for the education board. Because I think that they're just really cool, and it frames it nicely and makes it a bit of like an art feature instead of just a screen. And now we need to put this on the capybara. They also need to be within power, so we have to consider that with where we place all our education. We're not going to be able to put boards right up this end, but we can put them on these stretches here, which should be good enough, really. We can even add our own images or videos, and the board will display those as well. But for now, I think we'll just get the capybara in, and then maybe in the future we'll add some that are like, you know, the actual capybara inside or something like that. And we're also going to add in the education speakers. And I think we're going to do this on the top of the boards there and just blend the color into the bamboo color. And we're going to set these to be capybara and put the radius on them. We need to check they're definitely in the electrical coverage. We need to put the radius up probably for this one to 20, but then we'll reduce the other ones because we don't want them to cross over. That's the only thing we don't want to do. Okay, now if we look at our guest education coverage, we can see that these two are vying for control a little bit. So I'm just going to reduce these down. But everything else is covered, and the power doesn't extend beyond here, so we can't put any in right now beyond that point. But I think this is definitely enough to get some good education started for our animals. And obviously we can change these so they're not all going to be capybara, which is why we've got so many of them. And we could also move them around here if we needed. We could add some along these plain edges, and in this area here where there's not a lot of stuff. We could definitely add some more in. But for now, we're just staying within the power limit and the fact that we only have one species in this habitat, the capybara. So I think this is good to get started on education. The other thing we want to do is probably start getting some guest facilities. So again, I'm going to turn the blueprints off because we don't need them just yet. But it would be a good idea to just start meeting our guests' needs, because I imagine our guests are complaining. There we go. They're starting to complain about being thirsty. So that's one of the things we can actually meet with this. And seeing as we're going to have multiple animals in this habitat, I'm just going to put some guest facilities like on this section here, knowing that we're going to move them into the plaza later when we've got a bit more money and we can build them up a bit more and make a nice building to house them all in. So for now, I'm just going to put a chief beef and a gulpy soda in on this side. So if we just get a couple of these guest facilities going, that should really help. Now we are going to have to add these into our work zone. So I'm still just going to add these into the central hub. I'm actually just going to add everything into the central hub. We need to add the guest gates in as well, because the caretakers will use the distance between all the stuff to work out where they need to actually go for cleaning. So if we put the entrance gates in there, then they'll walk right up to the entrance gates and clean there as well. Now you can see we've already got a lot of customers, which is a great sign. So hopefully they've already made profit. This is going to earn some money for us, as well as all of the donations that should go up with a boosted education. And you can see our zoo is finally starting to make money, which is great. That's exactly what we want. Hopefully this will keep ticking up, and we can start putting some nature in as our finances increase. And now as the sun is setting, I think it's probably a good idea to add some plants in to meet their plant coverage needs. So I'm going to add a few rocks in first, and then I'm going to add some trees and some plants. Okay, the zoo is still getting quite dark, so I'm just going to roll this back so that we close at 8. And then this isn't too bad. This is going to be the start of the new day. We could maybe close at 8 and open at 6. This seems like more reasonable working hours. Look at them just enjoying the sunset. Look how beautiful the game is at sunset as well. Like the red skies over the hills is so cool. Their little faces. They're so cute. Okay, refocus. Let's place some rocks. Okay, we've got some rocks in there now. Now we're going to need some trees and some plants. And one thing I actually realized we also need is in habitat, we need to get like just a feeder. Like we haven't actually got that. We've got the food enrichment, but in case there's any spillover, we should probably have like a food trough. I might just get one large food trough and put it here where the main entrance bit is, and maybe just move this melon feeder over. And then I started working on the nature of the habitat. So as I said, I use nature from the grasslands of South and Central America, and I started by putting some reeds around the water areas. Then I added some low-level planting and then put some trees in. And I did it in this order because I didn't want to put the trees in first and then not be able to see the low-level stuff. So I'd recommend you do that as well. Put in your flower-level stuff like the tick seed I'm using here, and then move on to the trees after. Okay, so, oh my goodness, look at them feeding. Oh, they're so cute. Look at them eating there. That's so adorable. Oh, I've just finished the nature. And what I've done is done a bit more of like a sparse area over here, kind of trying to plan forward for the anteater and the main dwarf, because I don't really know what their requirements are yet. And I think we'll do that when we put them in. But then I've done like more like thick vegetation around this side, so they've got a lot more going on around here. In fact, I might just put a couple of extra palms and things in here just to really improve the coverage of everything, because I know that they live in thicker denser vegetation, so the capybaras prefer that anyway. And we've got quite a lot of reeds and stuff around here, but they tend to live around the water areas in like thicker vegetation. So that's kind of what we've done here, like especially around here. This is very dense. We've got these thickets scattered around everywhere as well. We can always add a few more of these in. Yeah, we've just added in a lot more of like the thickets as well, which I think has improved the vegetation quite a lot. So hopefully this will be good for their needs. We've kind of run out of money as well, but we are earning more money, so don't worry. It's just a short-term thing because we bought a lot of plants. So that will tick up. There you go, it's already going up. But I think this is pretty cool. It gives them a nice open area. It also means that guests can see really easily into this section and along this edge. and on the other side as well. Like, they can still get good views through the habitat, but it also gives them the privacy that they may want. And you can see that some of them have come for a nap in the little hut. How cute is that? And with that, we have finished our capybara habitat. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and I'll see you in the next one.